What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at The Stand, written for TV by Stephen King, directed by Mick Garris, based off the Stephen King novel of the same name. The story of The Stand is this. This militarized superflu is accidentally released into the world, in which it decimates 99.4% of the world's population, leaving less than 0.5% of the population alive, who are immune to said superflu. In the wake of the decimation of the world, the many handful of people are then drafted into separate factions. One led by the sweet, saintly Mother Abigail, the other one led by the demonic Randall Flagg, and these factions are at war for the fate of the earth. So yeah, that's the overall story of The Stand. How I feel about it? I thought this movie was okay. I am not the biggest fan. I never read the Stand book. It's not really a story that I had any interest in reading, mainly because Stephen King's inspiration is from Lord of the Rings, and I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan. I've seen all 6 of the Lord of the Rings movies, and I'm just not into it. So The Stand, being very influenced by the Lord of the Rings books, this movie to me, it was okay. Like, I was entertained by it. It has things that I do like, and it has things that I didn't really care for. But as an overall package, I thought this movie was well done. It was really well done. For a made-for-TV movie, Mick Garris did a fantastic job at making this movie have this grand, epic scope and scale. And that's the biggest thing this movie's got going for it, is that it has this epic feel to it. Not only that, this movie is chock full of just talented actors. You have actors like Gary Sinise, Molly Wingward, Miguel Ferrer, and a slew of other actors. Ruby Dee, Jamie Sheridan, who played Randall Flagg. Now, this movie is chock full of just very, very talented actors. And I thought, for the most part, every single one of these actors did a really good job in the roles that they were given. I thought that Gary Sinise, as the character of Stu Redman, really comes across as like this everyday hero type of guy, and he's very likable in the role. I've always liked Gary Sinise as an actor. Always found him to be very underappreciated as an actor. This movie tells you why Gary Sinise is very underappreciated as an actor. He is really good in the role of Stu Redman, who is the main focal point of this film. I thought he did a really good job. I like how he has this no nonsense type of attitude to himself. I like how he has like a leadership quality to him. I kind of sort of like the budding romance that developed between him and the Franny character played by Molly Wingward. Wasn't too fan of the triangle that involves this other character named Harold, who was also in love with the Franny character, and the fact that because the character of Francine said no to Howard and Harold and yes to Stu, that causes Harold to pretty much turn his back on everybody and pretty much kill one of the characters in a bombing because he was scorned, the poor devil. But despite the fact that I didn't really care for the love triangle, I thought both Ringward and Sinise, they were good. They had good on-screen chemistry with one another, and I buy them as a romance, and I like them. I like them both in this movie. Even though I was not a fan of the whole love triangle, the actor who did play Howard Lauder, I thought he was fine in the role. He played a good job of playing like this geeky type of dude who was clearly in love with the girl next door, but she does not reciprocate those same feelings. And the fact that he gets easily seduced by Randall Flagg and this other woman named Nadine, it works, because someone like him could fall for evil intentions when he doesn't get his way. And the nice guy portrayal that he had is really just a facade for something sinister that was buried underneath him. So I like that aspect of the Harold character. And I thought the actor who played him did an overall good job. And I kind of sort of am okay with his halfway redemption after he gets paralyzed and he kills himself, but he writes a note saying that he's basically sorry for the things that he's done. It was, for his character to take the coward's way out like that, okay. It goes in tune of the Harold character, and the actor did a good job overall. Ruby Dee, who played the character of Mother Abigail, I thought Ruby Dee's Mother Abigail was perfect casting. She gives this character this grandmotherly, just loving personality and loving charisma, and somebody who is kind of like Nick Fury in a way. She's like Nick Fury, gathering around all her Avengers to try and save the world. But the performance of Ruby Dee is really, really good because she comes across as like a spiritual advisor to these people, by coming to them in their dreams and warning them about the evil that is Randall Flagg. And I like all that stuff. I think Ruby Dee, I think Mother Abigail and Randall Flagg should have more scenes together, since the whole movie is pretty much about them basically, and them, and pretty much people are the side characters. I don't think there was not enough scenes of Mother Abigail and Randall Flagg. Hell, there was barely any scenes with those two interacting with one another, which is kind of a letdown and a shame, because the movie was building up to some sort of confrontation between the two, and it should have just went there instead of having the Mother Abigail character just die. That's my opinion on that. But I thought Ruby Dee was overall really good in the role as Mother Abigail. Jamie Sheridan, who plays the character of Randall Flagg, who is the big bad of this movie. I thought Jamie Sheridan as Randall Flagg was really, really good. This is a good portrayal of a Stephen King villain, especially a very, very popular Stephen King villain, in the character of Randall Flagg, who has not only appeared in the Stand novel, but also in Stephen King's very, very popular Dark Tower series. So the character, and Stephen King himself has stated that Randall Flagg is one of the best creations that he's ever made. So he's going to take a great deal of there's going to be a great deal of care into the portrayal of how Randall Flagg should be and how he should be portrayed. And I thought Jamie Sheridan did a fantastic job playing the role of Flagg. He has like this devilish biker type of quality to him, like a charisma, and he plays the role really, really well. When he's in his human form, I like his snarky sense of humor, and when he's in his demonic form, he can be intimidating and scary in some areas. I mean, I also think the demon makeup can come across as very, very hokey, but to Jamie Sheridan's credit, the performance kind of hides the hokiness of the devil makeup, and he does come across as an overall brooding and intimidating villain with a devilish personality. And I like how he uses manipulation to as a way to get his recruits to join his side. I like all that stuff. I like the stuff with him using Nadine to kind of sort of infiltrate the Boulder crew. I liked all that too. He pretty much wants to use Jadine as a vessel for his spawn. So, and then the character of Nadine ends up killing herself midway through the movie. Yeah, that's because of the evil influence. So I enjoyed all that. So yeah, everything with Randall Flagg, to me, for the most part, was handled really, really well. Other characters include these characters called Larry, Tom, Ralph, and Nick Andros, played by Rob Lowe. I thought these guys did really well in these roles as well. Tom Cullen is played by the voice of Patrick from SpongeBob SquarePants, and I liked him. He played a for lack of a better word, a mentally impaired person, but he made him very likable and not corny or cheesy and not like a caricature. And the chemistry between the characters of Tom and Nick Andros, who was dumb, deaf, and blind, who was dumb, deaf, and mute. It's a real relationship and a real friendship. It's these two broken people being brought together, and they complete one another. What Nick lacks with his hearing and his voice, he has Tom, and what Tom lacks in his intelligence, he has Nick. So it makes for a good friendship. Not only that, I thought that Bill Fabergate, if I said his name wrong, I'm sorry, and Rob Lowe put in very understated performances in this movie, especially Rob Lowe, who does the entire movie without saying any dialogue. He's just using, his body language, facial expressions, and sign language to get his character's personality across. I thought Rob Lowe put in a very underrated performance in this movie. He's one of my favorite parts of this movie is Rob Lowe. And I was not too crazy at the fact that Nick Andros' character gets killed off. I mean, I know he dies in the book, but I would have liked to see him live at least until the end. Maybe go to Vegas with everybody. That's just how I felt personally. Maybe because I was really liking the character of Nick Andros and Tom. And I thought that Tom and Nick should have gone to Vegas along with the Judge character played by Ozzie Davis to infiltrate Randall's crew. That's just me personally. That's how I would have done it. You got the characters of Ralph and Larry. I thought those actors played their roles especially well too. Larry is like this self-absorbed, would-be rock and roller, and he goes through a big character mark. He goes through a big character change where he stops being self-absorbed and he starts to be more of a hero in his own right. And I thought the actor did a great job at conveying the cockiness of Larry and the more subdued and the more can I say heroic side of Larry. I thought that was really good as well. And the character of Ralph, he just comes across as an overall nice guy that if you see him, you're gonna like him. So I got no complaints with that. And the actor who played the character of the professor, I thought he was good in his role as well. He's kind of like the old wise man of the group. So I enjoyed that performance too. In terms of this movie's pacing and everything like that, I think my biggest gripe with The Stand is that this movie is 6 hours long. I get it, it's a miniseries, but you could have easily trimmed a lot of the fat. There's a lot of things in this movie that you could have easily taken out, and I don't think it would have disrupted the entire flow of the movie whatsoever. I think it would have had a much, much better flow, to be honest with you. One of the main gripes I had with Stephen King adapting his own work is that he feels the need to shove everything from his novels into his movie adaptations, and it leads for these movies to be very, very bloated. Like his adaptation of The Shining was very bloated because he put everything in there. The Stand is bloated because he put everything in there. There are certain things that you could have dropped, certain characters and storylines that didn't really need to be in there. You could have just condensed, and it would have had a much better flow. That's just me personally. And not only that, Kathy Bates has an uncredited cameo in this movie along with Ed Harris, and I would like to see them do more in this movie. I mean, Ed Harris's character is important because he's the general that's responsible for having the super flu known as Captain Trips pretty much leave his base and infect and kill the world. So at least he has something to do. But Kathy Bates plays like this talk show host, Ray Flowers, and you could have done more with that, to be honest with you. Especially when everything starts to really go down to hell. You could have had Ray Flowers have more of a role as in like an ongoing talking voice narrating some of the movie. I think that would have been cool, but it didn't happen. And it is what it is. In terms of this movie's climax, it's very overblown. The entire climax takes place in Las Vegas, Sin City. Go figure. A guy named Randall Flagg's base is in Sin City. Whoop-de-doo. Yeah, the whole thing is just really overblown, very cheesy. The hand of God saves the day when this guy called Trash Can Man unleashes a nuke in Las Vegas and blows the whole thing up. Trash Can Man is played by Matt Fuhrer, who I thought was absolutely just darkly funny as the character in his entire performance all throughout this movie, with the whole running thing of him saying, "My life for you!" and him being like this arsonist who was obsessed with blowing up stuff. I thought Matt Fuhrer did a great job at being just over the top, just goofy in this movie. He was a lot of fun. But the climax to me, like the build up, I don't know, like this movie has a lot of build up to what I feel is a very hokey climax that could have been done in a much more serious way, especially since the character of Randall Flagg has such a good build up as like this threat. And he just goes out with the hand of God and the whole town explodes. It's kind of just underwhelming to me, at least. And not only that, Stu Redman wasn't even there for the climax because he got hurt. He broke his leg. So, yeah. And then at the end of the movie, Franny has her baby, who is not Stu's baby, by the way. It's from a previous relationship before she even met Stu. And all of civilization is implied to get rebuilt again. So, yeah. So basically, those are my thoughts on Stephen King's The Stand, the miniseries. Overall, I like the movie. It's not bad. It's not my favorite adaptation of a Stephen King work, but for what it is, I found it to be very entertaining, very decent. And the movie, and despite the flaws that this movie does have, and the robust cast that could have easily been trimmed down, and the robust scenes that could have easily been trimmed down, I still found this movie to be really good, and it does keep your interest from start to finish. So, with all that being said, I'm going to give this movie a solid 6.5 out of 10. I recommend it if you're a Stephen King fan. So yeah, those are my thoughts on The Stand. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like this video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.